Okay, so I'm gonna record the meeting and then I'm gonna upload it to YouTube and then so tomorrow morning you guys can review everything on YouTube. Does that make sense to you guys? That's good. Also, you guys have to be okay with being recorded. All right. Again, you guys can turn on your webcam, please. That would be great. Make my life a lot easier. All right, central nervous system physiology. One of the main topics um, of anatomy that we need to know. Let me see. The main topics I see a lot are things that go on in the organ. So not so much the muscles and bones, but heart always shows up. Lungs usually shows up. Digestion, things like that. Brain sometimes. Okay. Central nervous system physiology. Okay. Um, so okay. Is that it? Just one of you guys has a question about central nervous system physiology? Yes, or physiology. Questions. All right. Test strategies, as well as cardiovascular. Okay. 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 The other ones? Okay. Do you guys have electrolytes in? Yes. So what main topics in physiology show a lot on the exam? Um, from what I've seen, like I said, from what I've seen, a lot of cardiovascular stuff show up, a lot of respiratory stuff show up. Okay. All right. Um, okay. Let me ask this another way. Is there do you guys have like specific examples of questions that you don't know how to do? Because it's always easy to start from somewhere. Okay. Okay, so let me ask a different question. Okay, first of all, please turn on your webcams. There's like 60 of you guys. So if you guys can turn on your webcams so I can see you guys, that would be great. We practice like how many grams we need to, or how much concentration. Yes. Okay. So, okay. Let's see. That will be good. Screen. Okay. So, one and two more. Liter to decide how you do this. All right, try this question out. Okay.
Professor Poon. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, what?
We couldn't see your screen, but we can see it now.
We couldn't see your screen, but we can see now.
Yeah, sorry. Oops. All right, both the answer to number one. Nobody? Okay. Anybody want to venture a shot at this? Or we'll start calling on people. Okay. All right. First person on my list. Janine, how do you do number one?
I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea.
I have no idea. All right. Okay. So no. Okay. So
Me, you were calling on?
what does molar actually mean? What's the definition of one molar? They didn't
Molar.
go to Physiolab number one.
Molar.
What? Yes. What? Okay. So 1 molar equals to 1 mole in 1 liter. Okay. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Yes? No?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So the more you speak up, the better it is. Which is why I want you guys to turn on your camera so I can tell you guys are paying attention on that. Okay. So okay. I don't know where you at 6.02 times 10 to the third. So 1 mole is technically 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules, but that's not what I'm asking, right? So, okay, so 1 molar is 1 mole in 1 liter. Does that make sense to you guys? So if I wanted 2 molar, what do I need? How many moles per liter?
2 moles, 2 liters.
2 moles, 2 liters.
2 moles, what?
2 liters.
2 liters.
Nope. Close, but nope. Right? So 2 molar solution, 2 moles in 1 liter. Okay? Does that make sense to you guys? Yes? No?
Can we get another example?
Okay.
Can we get another example?
Yeah, I'm not done with this one yet, but yes, we'll do another example. Okay, so 2 molar, 2 moles in 1 liter. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay.
Why is it just 1 liter?
Why is it just 1 liter?
Because all I'm doing, that's the definition of, well, when you double something, you only increase the top value. If it's 2 moles and 2 liters, it's the same thing as 1 mole and 1 liter. 2 divided by 2 is 1, right? Does that make sense? Yes? No? Alexis?
Not really.
Not really.
Not really. Okay, so so the definition of 1 mole, okay, so, or sorry, 1 molar is 1 mole per liter. So if I want 2, I multiply both sides by 2. Does that make sense? So,
Yes, but why doesn't the liter change and just the moles does?
Why doesn't the liter change and just the moles does?
because you only multiply both sides by 2.
So are we only multiplying the molar and the mole, not the liter?
The molar and the mole, not the liter.
You So I am multiplying this side by 2 and multiplying this side by 2. Yeah? Okay, so this is 2 molar. Okay, and this is, so you multiply the top value, but not the bottom, right?
Mhm.
Yes? Yes? Make sense? Okay. Okay. All right. So the next thing I want to do is I want to cancel out the liters. So I want to see how many moles I need. And since I need, if I'm making 2 moles per 1 liter and I have 5 liters, okay, so 2 moles per 1 liter, and we'll multiply this by 5 liters, we'll get 10 moles. Okay, so the liters cancel. Okay, does this make sense to you guys? Yes, no? Yes, okay. Okay. So 10 moles. Moles. Sodium is 40 grams per mole. So that cancels, and all I'm left with is 400 grams. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Yes, no, sort of. Okay. I see Diane nodding yes. The rest of you guys, I don't know what you guys are doing. Because most of you guys have your webcam still off. which is-
So we had to find, we had to take out mole first,
We had to take out mole first.
and then we like use grams multiplied by moles to get them again.
Like use grams multiplied by moles to get them again.
No, I converted molar to mole per liter, which is what the definition is. And then I canceled out liters. And all I got left is moles. And I converted moles to grams. Right? But you can do it. It actually doesn't matter which order you do these questions in. Does that make sense? Like, because you're always multiplying, it doesn't matter which order you do these in. Okay. All right. You guys think remember doing this in like physio lab? Like, because I know we taught you guys this in physio lab number 1. Is this not ringing a bell? You guys just forgot? What is it?
I remember going over like metric conversions in lab,
I remember going
but
over like
not
metric
moles.
conversions in lab, but
Okay,
not moles.
not moles. All right. So let me pull this right off your lab. Okay, do you guys remember these questions? This is right after the lab. No. Okay. Okay. So. Okay. Why don't you guys try number 6? I'll give you guys 1 minute and then we'll get into it. Okay. So I don't know what is the number got copied over with. This is 7. Okay. So why don't you guys try number 6 first, and then we'll go through 7 and we'll go through 8. Okay. The next thing I want to make sure you guys understand is this is molar. The next thing I want to make sure you guys understand is percent solutions. Okay. $74 grams. Good. All right. It was two semesters ago. Yes, I know, Jackie. You were in my class. I taught this to you. All right. 74 grams. Good. Alexa, how did you get 74?
I did.
Sorry. Hold on. Alexa, stop.
I did.
Okay.
Oh,
So how do you get 74?
because the molecular weight of KCl is 74, and then I divided it by 1 mole, and then I got 74. And since it's in a
And then I got
100, since it's in a 1,000 liter solution, I did 74 times 1,000, and then I got 74,000, and then I divided by 1,000, and I got 74 grams.
divided by 1,000, and I got 74 grams.
Yep. Okay. So yes. So to make a 1 molar solution, okay, 1 molar is equal to, okay, 1 mole divided by 1 liter, right? 1 liter is the same as 1,000 milliliters, right? So 1 liter, okay? 1 mole is 74 grams. So I can replace this with 74 grams. So 1 molar is by definition 74 grams in 1 liter. And since I want 1 liter of it, I multiply by 1 liter, and all I get left is 74 grams. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Yes? No? Sort of? Okay. It makes sense a bit more. Okay, good. All right. All right, try number 7. (14.8). Nope. You actually went in the wrong direction. You divided by 5 instead of multiplied by 5. Okay. 370. Good. All right. Good. Yes. All right. So on the first person, say 370. So Janelle, where are you at? How do you get 370?
For my equation, since it's asking for grams,
the base equation is 74 over 1. So it's like gram over moles. So after 7 over 1,
Okay,
I
so
equaled it
74 grams.
yes, and then I equaled it to grams over 5 liters.
And then I equaled it to grams over 5 liters.
So the grams would be like the
What
equation,
are you? Okay.
So the grams
or
is
like-
the equation,
or like the x, so x over 5m,
or like the x of x over 5m,
or 5l,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
or 5l, sorry.
Okay.
So I multiplied 1
Okay.
on each side, so the 74
multiplied
grams
1
can
on
divide.
each side. So the 74 grams can be divided.
Okay.
So then it would be 74 grams equals x
So
over
then it would
5.
be 74 grams equals x over 5.
Then I multiplied 5 on each side.
And then
So
multiplied 5 on each
5
side.
times 74 equals grams.
So
And then I just
5
multiplied
times
74 times
equals
5, and
grams.
it gives me
And then I just
370 grams.
4 times 5 is 370 grams.
Okay. Okay. So sort of all in. Okay. For those of you guys who don't follow that. Okay. So I want. So I know 1 molar is 74 grams per 1 liter, right? So I know this, right? So what I want is 5 molar. So 5 molar, okay? If I multiply this side by 5, I have to multiply that side by 5, right? Does that make sense? Okay. So 5 times 74 grams for 1 liter is equal to 5 molar. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Okay, so that would make 370 grams per liter is equal to 5 molar. Okay, and now I say I need 1 liter of it, right? So 370 grams per liter times 1 liter is just 370 grams. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Yes, no? Okay, good, all right. All right, let's try to do number 8. Okay. Okay. Okay, 18.5. Okay, good. All right, great job. Okay. Alexa, how did you do that? Okay, let me go turn off my Alexa.
Oh, I did 74 divided by 1, and then I got 74
I did
grams.
74 divided
Oh no, I
by
just got
1,
74, and then
74 grams.
multiplied it by 250, and then I got
multiplied by
15,500, and then I divided it by 1,000, and then I got 18.5 grams.
And then I got 18.5.
Okay,
grams.
so why are you dividing by 1,000?
Because that's like the conversion to milliliters.
That's like the conversion to milliliters.
Good. So what you're actually multiplying is by what? Okay, not 1,000, right? So 1 liter is equal to 1,000 ml. Right? Does that make sense? So I know you do it really quickly by just dividing by 1,000, but like why do you get in the habit of like spelling it out? Because that way you can see whatever mistakes you're making. Does that make sense to you guys? Yes. Okay. So a 1 molar solution, by definition, is 1 mole per liter, or 70, in this case, 74 grams per liter. And I want 250 ml of it. Okay. And so that ends up being some weird number. So, but since I want to convert everything to, so this is milliliters, this is liters, I can convert this to milliliters, and then the milliliters cancel, and the milliliters cancel, and all I have left is 18.5 grams. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Okay, so a quick testing strategy: make sure your units match. Okay, like when you go through, make sure your answer is in, like, if the answers are all in grams, then make sure your answer is in grams. If your answer is in grams, okay, then you did it right. Does that make sense? So don't forget units when you're doing these problems, when you're writing out these problems, because then it's a quick way to double check. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Yes? No? Okay. All right. Okay, you do not need to know the molecular weight of sucrose, and the answer is not 10 mils. Okay, so I'm making 100 ml solution, so I know the amount of water I'm adding. I need to know the grams of sucrose I'm measuring. Okay, so how many grams of sucrose am I measuring? What does, in other words, what does 1% actually mean? Okay, Janine, nope. You already have 100 mils of water. How much sucrose am I adding? Okay, good. Isabella, 1 gram of sucrose per 100 mils of water. Okay, literally that is 1%. Does that make sense? 1%, 1 gram in 100 mils of water. Okay. There should be A there. There's a second one, 1,000 grams of sucrose. No. Okay, 10 grams. Good. Okay. Uh, Diane. Okay, good job. All right. Okay. One second. Uh, you're close, but no cigar. Okay. All right. So let's go through these guys. Okay. So how do I make 100 mils of 10% solution? A 10% solution is literally 10 grams per 100 milliliters. Okay, percent out of 100, right? So 10%, 10 grams out of 100 mils. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Yes, no, sort of. Okay, how do I make 1,000 ml of a 10% solution? Okay, okay. So sorry, I forgot to finish this. And since I want 100 ml, so those two will cancel, and all I have left is 10 grams. Okay, so this is 10 grams per 100 ml again, so 10% solution. And this time I want 1,000 ml. So the mLs cancel, and all I get left is 100 grams. Okay, does that make sense to you guys so far? Okay, so the last one, you guys get close. You guys just didn't. Okay, so you guys came close. 0.9% salt. So 0.9% is 0.9 grams per 100 mils of water. Does that make sense to you guys? And then all I do is multiply this by 500. And that is 4.5 grams. Okay. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? And just as a side, one of the things I want you guys to get a kind of a sense of what to do is when and I'm gonna put on Janelle right here. This was her answer. Okay, so 450 grams of salt, or grams of salt is needed for 500 mils of fat saline. You have to realize 450 grams of salt is more than a pound. Okay, so that's more than a pound of salt in 500 mils of saline. 500 mils is maybe a cup. So like, you know, that's way too much. Does that make sense to you guys? So like, you should have some like idea of like what the right answer should be. Does that make sense to you guys? Yes? No? Okay. Can you explain the first equation again? And please, how do I get 1 gram? Okay. So that is literally the definition of what percent actually means. Okay, percent literally means 1 out of 100. Okay, so 1% means 1 out of 100. Okay, so 1 gram in 100 milliliters of solution. Okay, or 1 gram in 100 grams of solution. But water, 1 gram is the same as 1 milliliter. Okay. Okay. Does that make sense? Yes. Yes. No.
I have a question. Is the first thing that you have at the very top?
I have a question. Is the first thing that you have at the very top?
So they're two
Is the
separate
first
questions, right?
is the what I have at the very top?
So
How do I make 100?
Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 questions.
how do I make 100?
Okay, how do I make 100 ml with 1% solution?
Yeah, that's separate from the bottom problem, correct? It's right below it.
Yeah, that's separate from the bottom problem, correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 problems.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Does this make sense to you guys? Yes, no, sort of, no idea.
Is that
Okay.
why we used
Okay.
100 ml for the bottom one?
100 ml for the bottom.
Yes. I find you always go back to 100 ml because that's literally what 1% actually means, right? 100, right? So percent is out of 100. Okay. Okay. Nice to see you again, Angelica, Vanessa. All right. Okay. Does this make sense? Yes. 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 Can we move on? We need more problems. Okay. Like I said, the more you guys talk, the easier it is for you guys.
You could do
Like,
more problems, but I feel like I'm biased because I took a little while to get into the meeting.
I
So.
think I'm biased. I took a little to the meeting, so.
can we go over the last one again? Okay, so. Let me change this. A really big magazine. Okay, the 450 grams of salt part. So why that's like, not sure what you're trying to ask, like why that's wrong or what. Like, okay. All right, so how to solve it? Okay, so try to solve this one. $18. Good. All right. Alexis, good job. All right, why did like people with this? Okay. Okay, 18. So Alexis, how did you get 18? And first of all, 18 what?
Grams.
Grams. Okay, good. So how did you get 18 grams?
I took 0.9% of salt and multiplied that by the 2,000 milliliters of the bag of saline.
Like that at a 2,000 milliliters of the bag of saline.
Okay. So 0.9% is 0.9 grams in 100 ml, right? Okay. So all I gotta do is multiply that by 2,000 ml, and the ml cancel. Okay, that cancels with that. Okay, and all I'm left is the grams. So that's 20. Okay. Does that make sense to you guys? Yes? No? Can we do one more? Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna do a Molar solution instead. Okay. So, okay. Sodium always grams. Most of most of the time things are measured in grams in terms of weight. It's usually grams. Okay. Nope. It's not 6 grams. Okay, so 80 grams. Nope. 160 grams. Nope. 240 grams. Okay, cool. All right. 240 grams is correct. So Alexis. Okay. So the way you do this, okay, so 1 molar is 1 mole per liter. Okay, so 3 molar is equal to 3 moles per liter. Okay, does that make sense? Yes. Okay. Okay, so 3 moles per liter times, so I want 2 liters. Okay, is 6 moles. Okay, and then again, just to show you guys, the liters cancel, so liters cancel, and all I have left is moles. Okay. 6 moles times 40 grams per mole. Okay, the moles cancel, and I get left with 240 grams. Okay, does that make sense? Yes. Cool. All right. By the way, just for those of you guys who are taking physio, those type of questions do show up on physio lab final, so make sure you understand them. Okay. All right. Now, are you guys ready to move on? Yes. I'm talking about like heart and stuff. Okay. So I found this list of what will be on your Kaplan exam. So I'm still trying to get through as much of it as I can. Cardiovascular, electrolytes, gas, GI, immune system, etc. Okay. All right. So the first thing I want to make sure you guys understand is the electrical conduction around the heart. Okay, so can someone explain to me where your heartbeat actually starts?
The SA node?
The SA node?
The SA node. Good. All right. So what happens to the SA node? And where is the SA node located? All right, atrium. Okay. So there's approximately where the SA node is. Okay, so now what? What happens after the SA node? And what does the SA node do?
The SA node, it like sends a signal that
It sends a signal that makes HDM.
Good. Okay, it sends a signal that makes the atrium contract. Okay. Okay, now part of the question. On the EKG, where's the SA node firing? Where's the depolarization of the SA node? P-way. Very good. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? So, wow, that's horrible, but that's the P-way. Okay, what happens after the SA node? What is that dot in purple?
Is that the AV node?
Is that the AV node?
The AV node. Good. Okay, so after the SA node fires, it sends a signal to the AV node. Okay. And then what happens to the AV node? It goes to the ventricles. Okay. And then what? What happens at the ventricles? The ventricles contract. So what actually causes the ventricles to contract? It is not the AV node. Okay. Okay. So you guys are right, the myocardial cells contract. But before that, the signal has to go somewhere after the AV node. Where do they go after the AV node?
The bundle branches?
The bundle branches?
The bundle branches. The bundle of what? What's the bundle called?
The bundle of His?
The bundle of this?
Bundle of His. Good. And then the bundle of His splits into the bundle branches. And then the bundle branches split into small little fibers called what?
Dinky fibers?
Dinky fibers?
The Purkinje fibers. Good. Okay. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. So where is that on the EKG? Yep, QRS complex. Very good. Okay, so the QRS complex covers two things. Okay, it covers the atrial repolarization and the ventricle depolarization. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Okay. And then what happens? So in other words, what is the T wave?
The repolarization of the ventricles.
The repolarization of the ventricles.
Very good. The repolarization of the ventricles. Okay. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. Okay. What is your average heart rate? (72 beats per minute). Very good. Okay. What is what is it called when your heart beats too quick, over 100 beats per minute? Tachycardia. Okay. You're missing a couple of letters, but yes, tachycardia. Okay. Does that make sense? So anything over 100 is tachycardia. Okay. Okay. So what is okay? What's systolic and what's diastolic?
The maximum pressure in the artery during contraction.
The maximum pressure in the artery during contraction.
Okay. So which one is that?
The systolic.
The systolic.
Okay. What's the diastolic?
The
It's
minimum.
the
pressure.
lowest.
The
It's the
minimum.
lowest.
The what? What?
The minimum pressure.
The minimum pressure.
Right. Right. That's the pressure when the heart is resting. Right. So what should systolic value be, and what should diastolic value be? What should your blood pressure be? Okay, 120 over 80 millimeters of mercury. Very good. Okay, it should be less than that, right? Does that make sense to you guys? Yes. Okay. All right. Let's see what you guys know. Well, you guys know my heart. What is cardiac output? Okay. How do you measure performance of the heart? Okay. Amount of blood flow through the heart per minute. Good. Good. Okay. Heart rate times SV. Okay, what's SV?
Stroke value.
Stroke value.
Stroke volume. What should your normal stroke volume be? Stroke volume. What should your normal stroke volume be? Cardiac output.
70 milliliters for stroke volume.
70 milliliters
70
stroke
milliliters.
volume?
Yes. Okay. And Cyan, right? Your total cardiac output, okay, should be less than 5,000, right? 5,000 ml per minute. Okay. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. Okay. So how do I speed up the heart? Running. Okay. Well, how do I directly speed up the heart? That's indirect. What system speeds up heart rate?
Your sympathetic nervous system.
What part of my nervous system?
Your sympathetic nervous system.
My sympathetic nervous system. Very good. Okay. So what is the neurotransmitter that speeds up heart rate?
Norepinephrine.
Nope. Not acetylcholine.
Norepinephrine.
Norepinephrine. Good. Okay. What does acetylcholine do to the heart
It'll slow it down.
rate? It'll slow it down. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. Let me see if you guys really understand. What receptors does norepinephrine bind to on the surface of the heart? Beta. So, okay. Beta receptors. Okay. All right. Does that make sense, you guys? Yes. I honestly don't think they'll get into detail about which type of receptors, but the rest of it is pretty fair game. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. So let's talk about sympathetic and parasympathetic for a little bit. Okay. What happens to your blood vessels under the sympathetic response? Okay. That is the most common answer, but that's wrong. Okay. Sympathetic causes your blood vessels to constrict. There's other mechanisms that cause the particular muscles that you're using to dilate, but in general they cause constriction. Okay, because ideally you want the blood only to go to where the blood needs to go, right? Not everywhere. So there's going to constrict most blood vessels. Okay, and only dilate the ones that you actually need. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Okay, cardiovascular. What else? Okay. So this topic number 2. What is an electrolyte? What are electrolytes? That's not good. Okay. It conduct ions. Close but no cigar. They become ions in solutions and conduct electricity. Correct. So yes. Okay. Those are okay. Good. Okay. So Melissa, actually listed the 3 most common ones: sodium, potassium, and chloride. Okay. So where is sodium located? On the outside of the cell or inside the cell? Okay, so sodium is on the outside. Okay, what's on the inside? Potassium. Good. Okay, so how chloride? Good. Okay, so how is this maintained?
Sodium potassium gates.
Sodium potassium gates.
Okay, sodium potassium gates, so sodium potassium channels. Okay, so what is the voltage inside the cell? Okay, I got one person saying positive, I got one person saying negative. Which one is it? Okay, it's negative at rest. Okay, good. It's negative at rest. How negative? You guys remember the value? Negative 70 millivolts. Good. Okay. Good. Okay. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. Okay. So let me see if you guys remember the action potential. So what happens to action potential? The cell depolarizes. Okay, so what causes the cell to depolarize? What's the first thing that happens to cause the cell to depolarize? Sodium. Okay, calcium. Okay, stimulus. Entrance of NaCl. Sodium going inside. Sodium influx. Okay. So sodium, voltage gated sodium channels, right? You guys, does that ring a bell? You guys? Yes, no? Okay, so voltage gated sodium channels open, right? So you get to minus 55 voltage gated sodium channels open, and that causes sodium to rush into the cell. Okay, and gets to threshold. What is the threshold? Okay, so that's a little too high. So threshold is about 30. Okay, plus 30. It goes all the way up to plus 30. What happens at plus 30 millivolts? Well, there are two things that happen. Okay, so the potassium gets open and the sodium gets closed. Good. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Okay. Okay, and then what happens? Okay. Okay, and then you repolarize the membrane, right? Okay, so yeah, you hyperpolarize and then you repolarize the membrane. Okay. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Don't worry about the nurse equation. The nurse equation is not what's on my test. Okay. Okay. What else? Action potential might be on the test. What else? Okay. Let me see if you guys know. What is IPSP? So what's the IPSP and what's the EPSP?
And EPSP is an excitatory postsynaptic potential,
EPSP is an excitatory
which is depolarizing.
Okay, what does that mean?
Which is depolarizing.
Okay, depolarizing. Good. So what's IPSP?
And IPSP is the inhibitory postsynaptic
And
potential,
IPSP is the
which is
inhibitory
hyperpolarizing, which is less
potential,
likely.
which is hyperpolarizing, which is less likely.
Right, which makes the neuron less likely to fire. Right? Does that make sense to you guys? Yes? No? Sort of? Okay. All right. Okay, so we have like half an hour. I want to talk about the immune system and the immune system because I know a lot of you guys struggle with the immune system. Okay, so what is the very first line of defense?
Mucus covering.
Mucus covering.
Okay, be more general than that. skin. Okay. So first line of defense is the physical barriers. Okay, so Vanessa's right, it's mucus, your skin. Okay, so does that make sense to you guys? Nails, hair. Okay. Okay. What is the second line of defense?
Macrophages, I think. Macrophages, I think.
Okay, good. Macrophages. What else?
T cells. T cells.
Nope.
Leukocytes?
Zaya, you have to.
Leukocytes?
Huh? Leukocytes? No. Or sort of incomplete answer, basically. So there are leukocytes involved, but they're not all leukocytes are involved. Okay, and so the second line of defense is innate cellular immunity. So things like complement, okay, macrophages, neutrophils, these things are involved, right? But they treat every single pathogen the same way. It could be an HIV virus, it could be a flu virus, it could be a cold sore. Like it treats all of them the same way. Does that make sense? Fever, right? Inflammation, all these are very, very general effects. Okay. The third line of defense is made of what?
Wait, after the macrophages, what was it? I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Wait, after the macrophages, what was it? I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, macrophages, neutrophils, okay, complement, inflammation, fever, interferons, okay, all of those are second line of defense, right? They treat the body, but they treat the body as one big thing. It's not specific. The first two lines of immunity are not specific. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? The third line of defense is very specific. Okay, so what is the third and last line of defense? B cells and T cells. Very good. Okay, B cells and T cells. Good. So what are B cells and T cells? What do they do? B cells create antibodies. Okay. And what are antibodies? How? Okay, so yes, everything in the immune system helps fight infection, right? But how? Okay, they fight infection by binding to the antigen, right? An antigen is anything that generates an antibody response. Okay, so they bind to the antigen, and by binding it, it makes it easier to kill. It prevents the virus from infecting the cell. Okay, it allows complement to bind to the virus to the bacterial cell. It allows like macrophages to eat it better and stuff like that. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, from the point of view of your immune system, okay, your immune system breaks down into two parts. Okay, humoral immunity and cellular immunity. Humoral immunity is controlled by B cells. Okay, cellular immunity is controlled by what? T cells, right? Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. So what do T cells actually do? Kill pathogens directly. Close the nose guard. They proliferate and activate each other's cells to attack invading cells. Attack the engineering. Okay. You guys are all kind of okay, you mark cells for destruction. No, antibodies actually mark cells for destruction. So T cells are directly involved in killing of cells. Does that make sense? So not they don't kill bacteria directly, but they kill virus infected cells. Okay, does that make sense, you guys? So they're involved in cellular immunity. So they kill the virus infected cells. So they check cells, and if you're infected by virus, they kill you. If you're not infected by virus, they don't do anything. Okay, does that make sense? That's cytotoxic T cells. Okay, T helper cells do help both sides of the immune system. Okay, it helps B cells proliferate. It sends signals to killer T cells about which cells to kill. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? That's basically the extent you have to know for the exam, like what B cells do, what T cells do, and what are the three lines of defense and how they work. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Yes, no, yes. Okay. Okay. Renal system. Okay. What is the functional unit of the urinary system or the renal system?
Is it nephrons?
Is it nephrons? Yep, nephrons. Good. Okay. So what happens in a nephron? What's the first thing that happens in a nephron?
Filtration.
Filtration.
Filtration. Good. So how does filtration actually work? So where does filtration occur?
The glomerulus.
The glomerulus.
The glomerulus and so glomerulus is where it leaks, where the fluid leaks out. It is caught by what? Starts with a B.
Bowman's capsule.
Bowman's capsule.
Bowman's capsule. Okay, and together the glomerulus and bolus capsule is called the renal corpuscle, and that's where filtration happens. Right? Does that make sense? Okay, so what gets filtered out? What comes out of the glomerulus?
Filtrate.
Water, waste. Okay, so waste.
Filtrate.
Okay, technically you're right. So let me ask another question. What's in filtrate? So waste, right? What else other than waste? Water. What else? Sodium. Okay. Plasma is technically incorrect. Okay. There's not much of a difference between plasma and filtrate, but technically it's not plasma. Okay. But sodium is correct. Okay. Potassium. Okay. Salt, sugar, amino acids. Okay. Does that make sense? Anything small that can fit through those filtration slits comes out. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Okay, what happens next?
Reabsorption.
Reabsorption.
Reabsorption. Okay, reabsorption happens where?
The loop of Henle.
The loop of Henle.
And
The distal convoluted tubule.
The distal convoluted tubule.
nope, not the distal, but the
Proximal.
what's the opposite of distal?
Proximal.
Proximal. Right, the proximal tubule. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Okay, so what gets reabsorbed?
Salt.
Water.
Salt, what else?
Water.
Most of the water, what else?
Sodium, I think a little bit.
Sodium, I think a little bit.
Well, sodium is salt, what else?
Sugar.
You forget, yes, sugar, okay? And last but not least, amino acids. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Okay, so that is all taken up by primarily the proximal convoluted tubule and then by the loop of Henle. Okay, so the proximal convoluted tubule takes up all the salt, sorry, not all the salt, all the sugar, all the amino acids, 7% of the water, 70% of the salt. Okay, the loop of Henle handles almost all of the rest of it. Okay, the distal convoluted tubule is somewhat optional. If you're drinking enough water, then the distal convoluted tubule doesn't do anything. Okay, if you're not drinking enough water, the distal convoluted tubule reabsorbs more water. Okay, does that make sense? Yes. Okay. Okay, so you have filtration, you have reabsorption. What's the last thing that happens?
the nitrogenous waste.
Nitrogenous waste.
Okay, so the nitrogenous waste is already in there. Okay, so you have
Secretion.
this,
Secretion.
secretion. Okay, so what is secretion? So
What,
we have
what you're peeing out, basically, what your purpose is.
separation.
What you're peeing out, basically, what your purpose is.
Right. What you're purposely pushing out into the urine. Okay, so filtration minus reabsorption plus secretion is equal to what?
Excretion.
Excretion.
Excretion. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Okay, last thing, what is GFR?
The filtration rate?
The filtration rate?
Good. Filtration rate of what?
Glomerular?
Your
Glomerular?
yeah, your glomerular filtration rate, right? So ideally, it just measures F, and you're looking for something that has no effect of R or S. Okay, so that's glomerular filtration rate. Tells you how well your kidneys are functioning. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Yes. Okay. Okay. Just a quick question for you guys. For those of you guys who are taking physio right now, that's not in my class, what chapter are you guys on right now?
Blood, chapter 16.
Blood, chapter 16.
Okay. Chapter 19, renal. Okay. All right. So I guess I pushed the rest of you guys harder than other professors. But it's okay. All right. Renal, chapter 19. Okay. Does that make sense to you guys? Yes. Okay. Hematological system. Okay. Okay. So explain to me how clotting works. Actually. Okay. Actually, skip that. Okay. We'll see if, okay. Okay, good. So here's a question for you guys. If I do one more session, like on Wednesday, are you guys interested in coming or not? Yes, no,
Yes.
yes, okay. Okay, yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let me ask them, let me ask the powers that be. If they want me to do one more. But it'll be Wednesday about the same time. Okay, and then what I want you guys to do ideally is to bring in questions that you don't understand. Okay, the last 5 minutes, I want to make sure you guys are studying correctly. So how are you guys studying?
I have a question. Do you have access to the Kaplan book that?
I have a question. Do you have access to the Kaplan book that you're suggesting?
No, I don't actually.
Okay. So I'm wondering if we can just send you stuff that we're
Okay.
getting. from the
Okay,
book.
thank
I'm
you.
wondering if we can just send you stuff that we're getting from the book.
You can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Use the Kaplan book and use my lecture notes from previous classes too. Okay, that's great. Okay. The first thing you guys should do really is to take a couple of practice tests. Okay, before you actually do Quizlet and do all this stuff, take a couple of practice tests. Okay, the reason why is you guys need to know how well you guys are doing and where your actual weak spots are. Does that make sense? You need now is the time that you guys need to bone up on the stuff that you guys are weak at. Okay, and the only way you guys know where you guys are weak at is if you practice. Does that make sense? Yes. So don't get into this. Don't get into this habit of just studying. Study correctly. Study where you're weak, right? Because that will help so much more than if you study stuff that you already know. Okay, and most people end up doing like just that. They read over things they already know because it makes them happy that they already know it, and that's a waste of time. Okay, where can we take this practice test? Honestly, I would spend some money and buy a Kaplan practice book because that's worth the expenditure, right? Even if you were able to raise your score up a little bit, that's totally worth it. Okay, so buy a practice book. Okay, how can you identify your weakness? That you have to look at yourself and realize which questions you are missing. Does that make sense? So if you do well on a section, like you look through it and you go, okay, all the heart problems I got, then you're good on the heart. If you miss every kidney question, then that's where you're weak, right? Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. The ultimate goal is to get you guys to score as highly as you can on this exam. The only way you guys are going to do better is if you work on your weak spots. Okay. You attack your weaknesses, not your strengths. Okay. Does that make sense to you guys? Yes. No. Sort of. Yeah. Smart addition.
Also, I just want to share for people. I have the book, Kaplan Nursing.
I have the book.
It's actually really good.
Nursing. It's actually really good.
Okay.
Just wanted to share.
Cool.
That's a smart edition book. Yeah, that book too, if you do the online test, it'll tell you directly what science sections that you're weak at. It'll tell you directly what science sections that you're weak at.
Okay.
So it's a great book.
Cool. And how much is that?
So it's a great book.
It's
Okay.
20
How much
bucks.
is it? You know?
You can buy like the online.
It's 20 bucks.
It's
You can buy like the
better than the
online.
book. I found out
it's
after the,
actually
but it's
better than
30
the book.
the
I found out
online,
after the.
but they have like a
it's
coupon
30
code.
Signage, but they
20%
have
off.
like a coupon code.
And if you put a review on Amazon, they'll give you the at least for me they did the upgraded version for the online for free. The upgraded version for the online for free.
Cool. Okay. Okay. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah, it's all good. Yes. Good. 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 All right. Any last minute questions before we call it a day? No?
Yes, would
Okay.
you be able to send us this
All
recording?
right.
You able to send us this recording?
Yeah. So for you guys, it'll be easy because I'll put it in on Canvas. for the other people who are not in my class, I will send to Dr. Coyne and Patrick, I believe his name is. I don't know, I should know who he is, but he's the one who's been contacting me about this. So I'll send him the link. So this is being saved on my computer, so I still have to like upload it to YouTube, and then I'll send the link to Dr. Coyne and to Patrick.
If you do a Wednesday section, are you gonna let Patrick know as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You can also just let me email me too, right? You guys all have my email and stuff. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you should focus on what's on the list. Okay. Because that's more so you're looking for high yield questions, right? I'm almost certain tissues will not show up on the exam in any meaningful way. So maybe a question, but I would focus on what's on there. Okay, because I didn't have time to get through it, but hemologics, so like plotting cascades and stuff like that is important. What different blood cells do is important. Homeostasis, there's definitely questions on homeostasis in the test somewhere, somehow. But homeostasis is kind of easy to understand. Respiratory system and sensory, we used to get checked. So I was planning to cover that Wednesday. Okay. All right. Does that make sense? Yes. Yes. All right. Cool. Okay. All right. I will see everybody Wednesday, hopefully. Okay. Or else just message me if you need something. All right. Bye, everybody.